Welcome to today's video. A shocking discovery has just been made. FBI agents searched Gene Hackman's mansion and unexpectedly uncovered a mysterious hidden tunnel. This chilling find has left the investigative team with countless questions about its true purpose. Is this just an innocent secret passage? Or does it hide something far more sinister? The first clues have emerged, and they might change everything we thought we knew. Let's uncover the truth right now. The final days of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa. Tragedy, loss, and an unsolved mystery. In his twilight years, Gene Hackman, Hollywood's legendary actor, retreated into a quiet, secluded life with his wife, Betsy Arakawa, in their peaceful Santa Fe, New Mexico home. However, time and illness showed no mercy. Hackman suffered from late-stage Alzheimer's, his memory fading until he could no longer fully grasp the world around him. The only person by his side, caring for him through his final years, was Betsy, a devoted wife who stood by him through it all. Every day, she helped him eat, move around, and even talk to him as if nothing had changed, though deep down, she knew he no longer remembered the life they had once shared. Then, tragedy struck in a way no one could have foreseen. One October morning, Betsy left the house for a routine shopping trip, something she often did to prepare meals for the two of them. But no one could have predicted it would be the last time she walked out that door. After leaving a local grocery store, Betsy vanished without a trace. Her phone went silent, her car was found abandoned in a parking lot, and there was no sign she had ever returned home. The sudden disappearance shocked the community, but the person most affected was Hackman. Though he had no real awareness of the devastating event unfolding around him, trapped in the endless loop of his illness, Hackman continued to sit by the window, waiting for his wife to return. He didn't realize Betsy was gone. He didn't understand why the house felt so empty, nor did he register the concern and fear in the faces of those around him. Sometimes he would call out for her, asking his caretakers where she had gone. When they didn't answer, he would simply nod and return his gaze to the window, as if expecting her to walk through the door at any moment. A heartbreaking, futile hope. Law enforcement launched a large-scale investigation into Betsy Arakawa's disappearance. They searched everywhere, from the surrounding forests to highways leading out of town. But every lead turned into a dead end. There were no signs of a struggle, no witnesses who had seen anything unusual. Her disappearance was like a ghostly presence, leaving behind no clues, no explanations. Meanwhile, Hackman's health began to deteriorate. Without his wife by his side, he became more withdrawn, slowly losing his ability to eat, and his body weakened as the days passed. Hackman spent his final days in solitude and confusion, living in a fragmented reality where past and present blurred together. A part of him still waited for Betsy to return, still longed to hear her soft voice say, "Honey, I'm home." But that moment never came. In the end, Hackman passed away in his sleep, carrying with him an undying love for the wife who had mysteriously vanished. And to this day, the disappearance of Betsy Arakawa remains an unsolved mystery.
Kawa sent shockwaves through both the entertainment industry and Santa Fe. Hackman, despite having retired in 2004, remained a beloved figure in Hollywood, respected for his incredible range and dedication. His performances in films like The French Connection and Unforgiven, both of which earned him Academy Awards, had cemented his legacy. Arakawa, though less publicly known, was respected as a talented classical pianist. The couple
Unanswered questions surrounding the mysterious mansion. Despite weeks of investigation, authorities have yet to determine exactly how the virus entered Hackman's mansion. Initial tests confirmed that Betsy had contracted hantavirus, a deadly pathogen commonly spread through rodent droppings and urine. However, the mansion was located deep in the hills of Santa Fe, an area with no apparent signs of rodent infestation. This raised a chilling question. Was the virus introduced deliberately? Had someone intentionally turned the house into a death trap without Hackman ever realizing it? Adding to the mystery, no one could explain why Hackman never left the house or sought help when Betsy's condition worsened. Security footage revealed no visitors entering or exiting the property during the time of the tragedy. Neighbors hadn't seen Hackman for days, yet the mansion's lights continued to flicker on and off at odd hours. These eerie details made it nearly impossible for investigators to determine whether this was a tragic accident or a carefully orchestrated plan. The mansion's isolation only deepened the enigma. Unlike other homes in the region, Hackman's estate was hidden deep within a wooded area, far from the nearest road and completely cut off from surrounding communities. This remoteness allowed the tragedy to unfold unnoticed. If not for a welfare check prompted by a concerned friend, authorities might have taken much longer to discover what had happened. This raised a disturbing possibility. Had Hackman willingly severed ties with the outside world? Or had something, or someone, forced him into isolation? As investigators combed through every inch of the property, they stumbled upon an unsettling discovery in the basement. A heavy steel door, which was not included in any of the home's original blueprints, concealed a hidden room. Inside, they found outdated electronic equipment, stacks of scattered documents, and several unmarked videotapes yet to be reviewed. Whatever was stored in that room could hold the key to unlocking the unanswered questions surrounding Hackman's life and death. While theories ranged from a tragic accident to a sinister plot, no single explanation seemed to fit. One thing, however, was certain. This mansion was more than just a home. It was the setting of an unfinished story, its walls whispering secrets that no one had yet uncovered. Until the truth finally emerged, the shadows of uncertainty would continue to haunt the house, serving as a chilling reminder of mysteries that refuse to be forgotten.
Presumably, huh? Were you close to your mother?
Yeah. Excuse me.
Did life change radically?
It's only been 65 years or so, you know.
It's not something that goes away easily, is it? Ever.
Probably makes you a better actor, I don't know.
Why does it make you a better actor?
I don't advocate that, but I don't know. You get in touch with your feelings, and you know, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I think the more that you can draw on that kind of thing, you know.
The tragic scene. Inside the mansion, a haunting discovery that shocked everyone. Nearly 2 weeks had passed since Betsy Arakawa's mysterious disappearance, and the once serene Hackman residence had fallen into an eerie silence. When authorities finally entered the mansion, what they found was nothing short of haunting. Gene Hackman sat motionless in his chair by the window, his frail figure slumped, eyes vacant, as if frozen in time. His condition had worsened drastically. He was severely dehydrated, barely responsive, and seemingly unaware that days had passed. The air in the house was thick with an unsettling stillness, the weight of something tragic hanging over every corner. As officers moved deeper into the home, their worst fears were realized. In the dim light of the bedroom, Betsy Arakawa lay lifeless on the bed, her body in an eerily peaceful repose. Scattered across the sheets and floor were pills, some still in their blister packs, Others spilled from an overturned bottle on the nightstand. The unsettling sight raised immediate questions. Had she taken her own life in despair? Had she accidentally overdosed? Or was there something more sinister at play? The room itself bore no signs of struggle, yet the air carried a suffocating weight of sorrow, as if the walls themselves had absorbed the anguish of her final moments. The autopsy report would later confirm that Betsy had succumbed to a lethal dose of medication, but whether it was intentional or accidental remained unclear. Investigators scoured the house for answers, yet the only witness to her last hours, Hackman, was trapped in the fog of his deteriorating mind. When questioned, he merely mumbled incoherent phrases, occasionally whispering Betsy's name with a childlike innocence, as though still waiting for her to return. It was a devastating realization. The man who had once captivated audiences with his commanding presence on screen was now a fragile, lost soul, oblivious to the tragedy that had unfolded around him. The mansion, once a symbol of the couple's quiet retreat from Hollywood's limelight, had transformed into a grim tableau of loss and unanswered questions. Dust had begun to settle over furniture left untouched for days. A half-drunk cup of tea sat on the kitchen counter, long gone cold. The clock on the wall still ticked, indifferent to the sorrow it measured. The world outside had continued moving forward, but inside those walls, time had stopped the moment Betsy drew her last breath. The loneliness was suffocating, made even more tragic by the fact that Hackman himself could not comprehend the depth of his isolation. As the investigation continued, public speculation grew. Was Betsy's death truly a tragic accident? Or had she chosen to leave this world on her own terms, unable to bear the weight of caring for the man she loved as he slipped away from reality? Some even whispered of darker possibilities, secrets buried beneath the surface of their seemingly idyllic life. But in the end, the truth remained elusive. What was undeniable, however, was the heartbreaking image of Gene Hackman, still sitting by the window, lost in a world that no longer existed, waiting for someone who would never return. The investigation uncovers chilling clues. The haunting mystery inside the mansion. When police entered Gene Hackman's mansion, they stumbled upon a scene that was both eerie and unsettling. There were no signs of forced entry, no indication of a struggle, and everything inside the house remained untouched, as if time itself had frozen. On the dining table, a carefully prepared meal sat cold and uneaten, abandoned for days. In the middle of the dimly lit living room, Gene Hackman sat motionless in his chair, his vacant eyes staring into the distance, his hands resting limply on his lap. He wasn't asleep, nor was he unconscious. It was as if he was waiting for something, or perhaps someone, to return. But the most disturbing discovery was hidden beneath the house, a concealed basement room that wasn't listed in any of the mansion's original blueprints. A rusted metal door, bolted shut with an old padlock, stood at the end of the underground corridor. When officers forced it open, they found something far more chilling than an ordinary storage space. The walls were covered in deep scratches, as if someone had desperately clawed at them, trying to escape. A single wooden chair lay overturned in the center of the room, and scattered around it were torn scraps of paper filled with frantic, almost illegible scrawls. One name kept appearing, over and over again: Betsy. As investigators combed through the hidden chamber, they uncovered an old, tattered journal, wedged between the wooden floorboards. Its yellowed pages were smudged with ink and time, but what they managed to read sent a shiver down their spines. The entries were erratic, some bordering on hysteria, while others carried a cryptic, almost obsessive tone. Mentions of whispered voices at night, unseen footsteps pacing the hallways, and recurring nightmares of a mysterious presence calling out to Hackman filled the pages. It was as if someone, something, had been lingering in that house for far longer than anyone realized. Back in the living room, where Hackman remained frozen in his chair, the investigators couldn't shake the feeling that he had been fully aware of their presence the entire time. He had heard every movement, every whispered theory exchanged between officers, and yet he hadn't reacted until one of them, almost absent-mindedly, uttered the name Betsy. At that moment, Hackman slowly turned his head, his lifeless expression shifting ever so slightly. A flicker of emotion, recognition, fear, amusement passed through his eyes, but instead of answering any of their questions, he merely gave a faint, knowing smile and whispered a chilling phrase. "She's still here." A heavy silence filled the room, thick with an unspoken terror that no one dared acknowledge. Had Betsy truly vanished, or had she never left? Was Gene Hackman merely a man lost in grief and madness? Or was he a witness, perhaps even a participant, in something far more terrifying? The truth remained buried within the mansion's walls, trapped beneath the weight of time, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to uncover it.
Results could be weeks away.
I think we just found one deceased person inside a house.
The couple's bodies were found Wednesday by maintenance workers, and after a frantic call to 911, county fire and sheriff's deputies descended on this Santa Fe residence.
Are they moving at all?
No, dude, they're not moving. Just send somebody out here really quick.
Much of the investigation is happening just up this road behind gates and a guard in an affluent neighborhood where homes are separated by acres of land. That's where Hackman and his wife chose to live, decidedly.
What lies inside the secret tunnel? Unraveling a forgotten mystery. After countless efforts to break the lock and search the eerie mansion, the steel door leading to the secret tunnel was finally pried open. A gust of cold, musty air rushed from below, carrying the scent of time long buried. The narrow passage stretched into darkness, its damp walls covered in moss and thick cobwebs, as if no one had set foot there for decades. The beam of a flashlight swept across the shadows, revealing rickety wooden shelves stacked with old documents, stacks of yellowed papers, and forgotten relics from another era. Among them were dusty VHS tapes, a broken typewriter, and outdated electronic devices, the kind that had long since vanished from modern use. Why had Hackman kept these things? Did they hold any connection to the strange events unfolding in the mansion? As investigators sifted through the aging documents, a chilling discovery emerged. Among the tattered files were black and white photographs, their edges worn and faded with time. Most of the images featured people, yet their faces were either obscured, cut off, or completely erased by age. There were no captions, no identifying marks, no explanation as to who they were. Some photos appeared to be taken inside the very mansion itself, showing the faint outlines of men in vintage suits, standing in rooms that had long been abandoned. Who were they? What connection did they have to Hackman? And why had these pictures been hidden beneath the earth, as if someone had tried to erase their existence from history? Theories about Hackman's past quickly spiraled out of control. Before retreating into seclusion, he had once been a famous actor, but his final years were shrouded in mystery and solitude. This tunnel wasn't just a storage space. It was a vault of memories, a place where Hackman had deliberately hidden something he didn't want anyone to uncover. Some speculated he had been involved with a secret organization, while others feared it was something much darker, a scandal, a crime, or an unspeakable truth he had spent a lifetime concealing. If those photographs were evidence of some long-buried secret, was Hackman a witness? Or was he an accomplice in something sinister? As the team pushed further into the tunnel, they realized it didn't end there. Another passage, blocked by old wooden crates, led even deeper underground, to a sealed-off chamber where the air grew so thick it was nearly impossible to breathe. There, etched into the cold, damp stone of the walls, were frantic scratches forming a haunting message. Be careful. Trust no one. Simple words, yet they sent a shiver down everyone's spine. Who had written them? And what had happened inside this hidden chamber that made someone feel the desperate need to leave behind such an ominous warning? With each new revelation, the weight of unanswered questions grew heavier. Everything people thought they knew about Hackman was now completely overturned. The mansion had always been a place of secrets, but this was something else entirely. This was a puzzle that had yet to be solved. What had truly happened in those lost years? And more importantly, was something even more terrifying still waiting to be discovered beneath the layers of dust and time?
Out if it was even safe for our officers to go in and process the scene and execute the warrant. They stated that it was safe. I don't have the details of exactly what they located or what they didn't locate. It was determined that it was safe. We had been going in and out of the house. I don't know if that affects, if there was a concentration of any gas, including...
A deeper mystery. The hidden door in the basement and the dark passage leading to something terrifying. Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's mansion was once a place of peace, where the two sought solitude after years in the Hollywood spotlight. But after Betsy mysteriously vanished and Hackman was found in a state of physical and mental collapse, the house became the center of suspicion and fear. Neighbors recalled a chilling atmosphere hanging over the property in the days leading up to the police investigation. Lights flickered without reason, strange noises echoed at night, and the mansion, once bathed in sunlight, seemed swallowed by an unnatural darkness. But what no one could have expected was that behind its grand walls lay a secret far more unsettling than Betsy's disappearance. When investigators began searching the home, they sensed something was off. Though they meticulously combed through every room, every corner, something remained hidden. Then, almost by accident, one officer noticed a small gap beneath an old rug in the basement, a detail missing from the original house plans. Pulling the rug aside, they uncovered a heavy iron door, sealed shut with a rusted padlock coated in years of dust. No one knew how long it had been there. No one had ever heard Gene Hackman or Betsy mention it. What lay beyond the basement door? Breaking the lock wasn't easy, but when the door finally gave way, a rush of stale, icy air swept into the basement, carrying the unmistakable scent of damp earth and something else, something difficult to name. Before them stretched a dark tunnel, descending deep beneath the mansion. The rough brick walls looked ancient, their surfaces worn by time, giving the space an eerie, almost otherworldly feel. There was no light, no sign of life, but in the overwhelming silence, something felt present. As the officers moved deeper inside, fragments of the past began to reveal themselves. A lone wooden chair, crumpled pieces of paper scattered across the ground, deep scratches on the walls, as if someone had been trapped there long ago. Every footstep echoed ominously, the tunnel amplifying the sounds in an unsettling way. The passageway twisted and turned, the beam of their flashlights barely cutting through the suffocating darkness ahead. Then, suddenly, another door emerged, smaller, wooden, rotting at the edges yet still intact, as if it had remained untouched for years. With caution, they pried it open, revealing a tiny windowless room. Inside, only a single wooden table remained, covered in dust, along with an old, thick notebook resting at its center. One officer flipped to the first page, and his face immediately went pale. The book was filled with frantic, uneven handwriting, lists of names, cryptic dates, unsettling notes that read like the fragmented confessions of someone who had spent years in the shadows of that house. At that moment, the real question was no longer just about what had happened to Betsy Arakawa. It was about what this house had been hiding for all these years. Who built this tunnel? Who had used it? And most importantly, what had taken place in that hidden room? As investigators pressed forward, a chilling realization took hold. Betsy's death and Hackman's breakdown were likely just the tip of the iceberg. The true horror of this house had yet to be uncovered.
Seen near Hackman's wife's body. The warrant stated that there were, quote, no obvious signs of a gas leak, and that was an earlier conjecture that perhaps they passed away from carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, Santa Fe County Sheriff Mendoza confirmed with Fox News Digital separately that the gas company and fire department additionally responded to make sure there were no toxic fumes that would endanger the deputies during their search. And the New Mexico Gas Company is working with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department in this investigation.
The cause of Betsy's death. An invisible threat lurking in the shadows. The autopsy report revealed a chilling truth. Betsy Arakawa had succumbed to a lethal hantavirus infection, a rare yet deadly virus primarily transmitted through rodents. Investigators were baffled. How had she been exposed to such a disease in their meticulously maintained mansion? There were no signs of rodent infestations, no visible droppings or nests, nothing that would indicate an immediate risk. Yet, the virus had silently taken hold, attacking her body with ruthless efficiency. By the time symptoms emerged, fever, fatigue, respiratory distress, it was already too late. Her body had weakened rapidly, and in her final hours, she had likely struggled alone, unaware that an invisible predator was ravaging her from within. As authorities combed through the house in search of answers, their attention turned to an unsettling detail: the family's beloved dogs. Of the 3 canines that had loyally stood by Hackman's side, one had perished under similarly mysterious circumstances, while the remaining 2 showed signs of extreme lethargy and malnutrition. Tests confirmed that they, too, had been exposed to the virus. If Betsy had fallen victim to it, how long had the deadly pathogen been lingering within the house? More disturbingly, could Hackman himself be infected? His deteriorating health not just a consequence of age and Alzheimer's, but something far more insidious? The discovery led investigators down a new, terrifying path. They began examining the hidden basement chamber, where the locked metal door had concealed secrets no one was meant to find. Within its damp, musty confines, they uncovered something horrifying: traces of rodent activity, gnawed wooden beams, and, most disturbingly, small bones scattered along the corners of the room. It was evident that the hidden chamber had become a breeding ground for disease, a sealed-off world teeming with unseen dangers. Could it be that something, or someone, had deliberately kept it concealed, allowing the threat to fester and spread? As the pieces of the puzzle slowly came together, an unnerving question arose. Had Betsy's death been a tragic accident, or had she been deliberately exposed to a fate she couldn't escape? If the rodents had truly been confined to the hidden basement, how had the virus reached her? Had she unknowingly uncovered something she wasn't supposed to see? Something that cost her life? And if that was the case, was Hackman merely an unfortunate bystander? Or did he, in his fragmented state of mind, hold the answers that everyone feared? The once grand mansion, now tainted by the specter of disease and death, stood silent as investigators wrestled with these questions. The air inside felt heavy, oppressive, as if the house itself was holding its breath, watching, waiting. Whether it was a biological curse or something far darker lurking within those walls, one thing remained certain. The threat hadn't vanished. It was still there, invisible yet present, biding its time. The final isolation. Strange details surrounding Hackman's death. When the police finally forced their way into Hackman's sprawling estate, an eerie stillness hung in the air. There were no signs of life, only silent rooms coated in dust and furniture left undisturbed, as if time itself had stopped. In the living room, Hackman sat motionless in an old armchair, his face gaunt, his hollow eyes staring into nothingness. No one could determine exactly how long he had been sitting there before death finally claimed him. There was no food nearby, no indication that he had attempted to call for help. It was as if Hackman had resigned himself to his fate, completely cut off from the outside world. However, there were details that investigators couldn't ignore. Despite the scorching heat outside, the interior of the mansion was stiflingly warm. The central air conditioning system had been deliberately turned off, an odd decision, given Hackman's fragile health and the brutal Santa Fe summer. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows or tampered locks. Everything seemed untouched, except for one peculiar thing. The landline telephone in the bedroom had been completely unplugged, as if someone had intentionally prevented Hackman from reaching out to anyone. The scene only raised more questions than answers. Although Hackman appeared to have died from exhaustion and dehydration, it was evident that no food had been consumed in days. The kitchen was fully stocked, yet nothing had been disturbed. No signs of cooking, no remnants of a last meal. The refrigerator was nearly empty, save for a few expired water bottles. But the most unsettling discovery was in the basement, where police found a collection of Hackman's personal writings, pages filled with frantic, repeated phrases. "They are watching me. They won't let me leave." These notes sparked a chilling new theory about Hackman's final days. Had he truly succumbed to illness? Or had he been gripped by a growing paranoia so intense that he refused to leave his home? Was there someone, or something, manipulating his isolation? Neighbors recalled hearing strange noises coming from the house at night, footsteps echoing through the halls, doors creaking open and shut, even though Hackman had always insisted he lived alone. Some swore they had seen a shadowy figure standing at the window, even on nights when Hackman was known to have never left his bedroom. The investigation dragged on for weeks, but yielded no definitive conclusions. Had Hackman died in absolute solitude, consumed by illness and despair, or had unseen forces played a role in his demise? The bizarre circumstances surrounding his death remained unresolved, leaving an ominous mystery hanging over the estate. A home that had once been his refuge, but ultimately became the tomb of an unsettling, unfinished story. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. The story of Gene Hackman and the mysteries hidden beneath his mansion is truly chilling, sparking countless theories and leaving behind unanswered questions. If you found this story intriguing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any future mysteries. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let us know if you think this mystery can ever be solved. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.